Think we ready for real? Welcome to the Grief Bully podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Thank you for joining our weekly discussion around grief, mental health, and your overall personal wellness. The Grief Bully podcast will serve as a vehicle to help you navigate life's journey. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the podcast with anyone in your life that you think it will help. Let's bully grief together. What's up, beautiful people? Hope that you all are doing well. Welcome back to another episode of the Grief Bully. I am here in the studio today, and I am not by myself. Today is Monday, October the 7th. We are rocking and rolling already in October, and today is our 8th episode. And I heard that most podcasts don't make it past the 7th episode, and we are on episode 8, so we are breaking those statistics. That's a hard word to say for me. Already. So I am excited. I've got a guest in here today, a very, very long time friend of mine. We are going to tackle grief, bully it, continue to push the initiative and the conversations around this very much needed topic. So I just want to recap last week, guys. If you remember, I was in here chilling, like legit chilling by myself. So I've opened up the table today again to have a guest. We talked last week about grief will meet you where you are. I got a lot of great feedback with that, just as far as the thought-provoking part of it, as far as how important working on our overall mental health and wellness, our life experiences, our traumas, and just how crucial it is to do that work, because grief will indeed meet you where you are. So if you missed out on that episode last week, I truly encourage you to go download that episode, subscribe to the show, and leave a review while you're there if it does do something for your soul and your spirit. And most importantly, I ask that you share it with someone else. We also talked about, how you respond in your life and to your normal circumstances is probably more than likely how you're going to respond to your grief as well. So check that out. I definitely would appreciate that. And I want to introduce my guest today. Guest, are you nervous?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a guest to come on and actually say no, that they're not nervous. But I understand. But you are here. I have one of my long-term friends, Keita.
Yeah.
Right? I almost said your full government.
Don't do that.
So we got Keita. We grew up in Lawnside, New Jersey together, middle school, high school, remained friends, a godmother of her son. And so we're pretty close. And she's actually been a huge advocate of the show, a great supporter, definitely someone I can count on, a lot of positive feedback. So we were having a text message conversation. Actually, she started the text message conversation with me. And to her surprise, by the end of that text message, we scheduled a date for her to come onto the show. So we are going to get into some topics today. And like I always tell every guest, Keita, honestly, it's truly what you feel comfortable with sharing and talking about. We are here to help, I guess, form the commonality between this struggle, right? The grief journey, and just showing that we all can be relatable, but the only way we can do that is if we actually have the conversations. So it wasn't enough for you to share your feedback with me. You have to share it with our audience, because I kind of bullied you. Asked you politely to come on the show and talk about it. So guys, I want to do something that I haven't done yet. And I want to read actually our exact text messages that led to having her on the show today. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. So let's see here. So the message, this was September 4th, and it says, "Hey, Cole, a.k.a. J.Nicole. So I didn't want to bother you yesterday, knowing it was your anniversary. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
I just wanted to say I listened to the last podcast about relationships and the feelings that went along with being happy because you have accomplished something. So as I was listening, I said, after my cousin brother passed, I was just angry all the time, didn't know whether I was coming or going. Then when my uncle passed, I just got a car, my name, I'm happy. At least I was supposed to be. Just had my daughter, I'm happy. That's a beautiful moment, right? But one thing you didn't mention that I felt was guilt. I can't be happy knowing I'm supposed to be saddened by this loss. That's from the outside looking in. She can't really miss him because she's happy today, smiling today. Oh, she's fake. So being guilty played a big part in my life. Even now I have a better job and He's not here to see that, so I feel guilty. Trying to do the work to have an intangible relationship is hard, girl, but I'm trying. So keep going with these podcasts, friend, helping more than you know. Sorry for the ramble, LOL. And then I said, again, LOL, I think we say that a lot. It wouldn't have been a bother. I said, you raise a very valid point, and one I'll be sure to talk about on a show. Actually, better yet, I'll save the topic for when you come on the show to talk about your grief journey. So I then went on to talk a little bit more, about what I'm trying to do with the show. But I really wanted to talk about that because, for one, I'm always open to feedback. When it comes to this topic in the show, I want to have common folk on here talking about their struggle. And when you brought that point up, I could have been like, what do you mean? I covered all of these topics. I said all these things. But it's like, you know what? That is something that's huge, about guilt. So we're going to get to that in more detail, on the show. But I do want to talk to you. And I first kind of want to ask you, how has grief, showed up in your life? And you can introduce yourself to the audience, say, hey, y'all, what's up? I'm Keita. No, I'm just playing. So you can introduce yourself a little bit, and then you can definitely, if you can answer that question as far as like how has grief showed up in your life, that'd be cool.
Hey y'all, I'm Keita.
Hey y'all, I'm nervous, Keita.
Yeah, that's it. Grief showed up, before you really knew what it was. People passed away and all that kind of stuff. But when it really hit home for me was when my cousin passed away. We were out actually the day before in Berlin Market. We were there doing our little shop around, stuff like that. Went home. Next day, we went out. Me and my wife went out, and it was like a little club scene. Well, I got a phone call, and the phone call was very straight to the point. It said, Keith is dead.
Wow.
So when you're partying, having fun, and you get a blatant phone call like that, you like, y'all playing tricks. So I run into the bathroom and I'm making a phone call again, like, what did you say? And it was straight to the point again, like, he's dead. They didn't say, the normal, hey, come to the hospital.
Right.
Hey, why don't you come home? Whatever, yada. It was that ride home was ridiculous. So when I finally got to Cooper and it wasn't a joke, it was kind of like, now what? Now what do I do? He's 15. Yeah. I don't want to know what happened. I don't want to know why people are calling me. I'm questioning God at this point, like, why did you take this kid away from me?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so wow, right? And
Right.
First of all, I'm going to definitely salute you. I know that's difficult to talk about, even though it has been some years, but I know it's still a raw thing, and that's the thing when we talk about it. It's like it's weird because I'm encouraging people to talk about it. I want us to talk about it, understanding that it can get a little sad and get a little rough. With that, so Keith was 15,
Yes,
and your relation to Keith was
he was technically my cousin, but as we grew up so close that was just like my little brother.
okay. And how old were you at the time? I mean, we're getting old, so right. I honestly I can't recall the exact age.
It's like 15 years. We'll be 33 now. So
yeah,
in the 20s, right? 20s.
Okay, I'm terrible at math.
Yeah, it was like 27.
Okay, so you're great. So you're 27, give or take. Your 15-year-old brother, just out of nowhere. He wasn't ill. He wasn't sick. So do you feel comfortable explaining like what happened to him, how he actually passed away? Because again, I know your story, and this is the thing when I have guests that come on, I just want to make sure that our audience and our listeners out there can have a great picture of, or the best picture of kind of what happened in the circumstances up to the level of your comfort.
Yeah. He was riding a dirt bike, doing what boys normally do. This one day though, they decided to ride in the street. him and his boys playing in and out, doing little like tricks in the street or whatever. The first person saw the car coming, didn't yell back to him. And when he saw the car, he tried to miss it, and he instantly went into the pool, to an electric pool. And it was kind of instant. So,
Yeah, I gotta be honest, guys. I really have to be honest that it's now I don't want to say stumping me, but it's definitely not allowing me to react as quickly as I would like to the conversation. So I don't want you to feel like I'm leaving you hanging.
No.
But it's definitely emotionally, I don't know. It's tough.
I'm holding it back.
Yeah, it's tough. You can let it out. You can let it out. We can cry here together. We'll definitely grieve and grow. You know, we'll get through it together. And so, wow. So 15, riding a dirt bike, you know, having a good time.
Yeah.
And then his life is instantly taken. Now, to my recognition, this was actually in Lawnside, and it was not far from your house.
No, it was literally down the street.
Right.
Down the street.
And so they came to the house, and I recall parts of that where they're knocking on the door to your grandmother's house, and, you know, you guys, or whomever was there, I guess, ran down to the scene of the accident or something along those lines. It's been a while, but so my memory.
Even now, I kind of like don't remember how it happened.
Right.
But somebody, you know, police came to the house or whatever, and I want to say my aunt was the first one down there.
Which would be his mother?
Mm-hmm. And that's who ended up calling me.
Yeah.
So to just see probably, you know, seeing your son and not knowing who to turn to first, it was probably more devastating for her than anything.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can't even imagine her pain or the experience, you know, of anybody there. So a couple things come up to me while we're talking about that. So we have a 15-year-old that just lost his life. Mm-hmm. And like, what do we think now? Because it's like, all right, he wasn't in the streets as far as like, you know, hustling, doing these things, like bringing certain things maybe onto himself. He wasn't sick. It was just like a normal day. And then now, like, you know, he's not here. So I know you said like you thought, well, God, why would you, you know, do this?
Yeah.
Like, was that something that you continue to feel like at that point, like the anger towards God, or like what would you say was like your dominant emotion?
Anger, definitely. Right after that, I think anybody could have walked past me and they'd have just got punched for no apparent reason. I took it out on everybody around me. It was everybody's fault. I blamed everybody. I ended up in a situation where I had to go to court, and the judge was even like, ma'am, you need help. Mm. And that was my reason to get therapy. I was kind of forced. So it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Right. Which, I mean, hey, you know what? I'm glad that you were forced. And yeah, I can remember those times when you were that angry. You know, and so that's tough. That's definitely a tough thing there. And I know one of the things that we talked about in a text message originally was, you know, when you lose people in your life and then you're expected to go on and just live because you're still alive. You know, what was that like? Like, what are the challenges that you can remember, if you can recall, trying to continue to live, you know, your life after your 15-year-old brother has just, you know, just had his services, you know, you're no longer going to see him, and, you know, you have a smaller family, so it's glaring that he's not here.
Right. It was hard because at the same time, I still had a son myself. So now I have to, quote unquote, pick up the pieces and make sure I am doing what I need to do at home for him. So to go about my day-to-day was very hard.
And so we talked briefly in the text message about the guilt, you know, so we can get into that. I mean, we still have some more of your grief journey to talk about, but I do want to talk about that. You know, when you're trying to live your life, and like you said, you know, you have these happy moments and you have things happening in your life, but there's this sense of guilt. Would you mind like elaborating on that specifically? Like, what did you feel guilty about?
Honestly, when my brother passed, I was more angry. I wasn't as so much guilty until my uncle passed.
Yeah, let's get into
because
that.
then
So your uncle passed, which is
his dad. 3 years ago, he passed. He was in Florida. He was sick though. He had sickle cell, and he wasn't even supposed to live up until the point that he did live to. So he beat a lot of statistics and everything else. Well, that was like my road dog.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever he wanted, I did. Whatever I wanted, I got. Like when you saw me, you saw him. You saw him, you saw me. So when that phone call came, it was Uncle's in the hospital.
Okay.
All right, well, that's normal.
Right.
I'm going to go back to bed because he ain't going to get out. This is what we normally do. This is what we go through. I checked on him, make sure he was good. And that was that. But when I got that second phone call, something wasn't right. That time it was given to me a little bit easier because I was pregnant with my daughter. So, technically you have to, how can I say, you got to be a little more nourishing to your body. Like,
right.
You got to eat. You still got to do your day to day because you're pregnant. So I dropped. I literally dropped to the floor. And my grandmom called me and said, I got to go. I got to go to Florida. I got to go help. I got to go do whatever. I said, this ain't real. Like, somebody got to send me a picture because it wasn't like my brother. He was down the street, so I can technically go see what's going on. Now this is in Florida. Y'all got to be playing another trick on me.
So you wanted them to send you a picture,
yeah, show me.
Show you that this is
that
real.
Y'all not playing. Because I literally just talked to him. I was supposed to pick him up the next day. And now I'm not picking nobody up. So that one was a little bit harder because then I had my daughter, I had my baby shower and got a car. I'm supposed to be happy, but I can't be happy. My uncle not here.
Right. You speaking truth right there. I mean, I could definitely relate to you, and I'm sure a lot of people in our audience can as well, is that it was like after every high, and they always say that a lot of times we have hesitancy and reluctance to lean into joy because on the other side of joy, there's pain.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, I got married. Oh, I did this. But, there's always that but.
Yeah.
These people aren't here. Or I know you talked about in the message, how can, like, being concerned about what other people are looking at, our lives or your life and saying, well, did she really care, or did she really love him, or how are you still, smiling and laughing? So is that something that you feel was a concern or a thought, or maybe something you encountered or experienced as far as people looking at it like, well, you just lost him, whether it was your brother or your uncle,
yeah, because we had a trip planned too. So we had already had certain things planned previously. Right. So to actually still have to do these things, it was like, I don't want to do it, but I have to.
Right.
Because we already put the money out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're down there or whatever. This is the time we went to Miami. And we're down there, and I'm like, it's his birthday. I ain't going out. Y'all go out. Y'all go have fun. I'll be in the house. I'll see y'all when I get back. I need a minute.
Right. And did you stay back because you felt like I
felt guilty.
Yeah, like you shouldn't.
Like I shouldn't be having fun today.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he was here, we would be having fun together.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not here, so what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, and I think that's real. I mean, I think it's real because we, and again, I'm sure people can understand that too and relate to that. That it's like, how can you Yeah, like I think
move.
holidays, birthdays, yeah, those type of things, but more specifically like birthdays, because
Yeah.
it's like this is not just like a national holiday, like, Father's Day and so forth. Like I've found those difficult, but I feel like the person's birthday is like,
The most difficult.
yeah, because it's just about them. Where I guess national holidays are a challenge as well because it's like everywhere and it's hard to escape it. But when it's like that person's birthday, like you might feel like in like a violation of this like sacred relationship or something like that.
For I want to say a year or two. It's only been 3 years now. For my uncle, but his birthday is the 19th of January. Mine's the 20th.
Right.
We've always celebrated it together at a dinner. So the first 2 years, it was kind of like, I'm not going to dinner. I'll do anything else but go to dinner. Because that was something me and him did, no matter what. So after that, it was, no, that ain't for me.
Right. It makes perfect sense. And like, so that was 3 years. So you had two experiences without him. Like, how do you feel you might be this coming January? Like, do you think you've evolved in your grief journey where you might feel a little bit differently, or how do you feel?
No, I'm planning a tattoo party. I'm still not going to dinner.
But you're celebrating, so
but
at
I'm
least,
celebrating.
So at least you're at that point.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I know a lot of people saying it could be cliche, and I say this sometimes. Well, I say it to myself a lot. What would that person want you to do? What would they want you to do? And I think about just like I knew your uncle, I knew KC, I know my dad, and I know that these are people who would be like, no, like turn up, like, have a good time, not just sit there. But sometimes I feel that's easier said than done because it's like, yeah, I get that you wouldn't want me to hang my head, but it's kind of like you're not here. Like, it's kind of hard. And I feel like what I've been dealing with a lot lately is trying to escape my memories. So it's funny because people say like your memories are what will really help you and help carry you.
Yeah.
But maybe you can speak to this. Sometimes my memories are what are like a gift and a curse. Yeah. Because it's like all day long I just see your face. All day long I'm just replaying our last conversations and replaying us talking and all of these things. But then it's like, okay, that's nice and I can remember, but I can't actually do anything beyond this. Right. So I'm just trapped in my head. Yeah. So how, like, have you experienced that, or what would you say?
I've experienced good memories. I've also experienced where I'm just cruising because I used to, work on the road a lot. So I'm in my car all day. It would be a song that would come on, and for some reason, it would play back that phone call. And I'd be like, no, man, not today. Yeah. Come on, don't do this. Not today. So now I got to pull over. I got to cry it out. I got to do whatever I got to do in the car while people driving by looking at me probably like I'm crazy. But it's what I had to do for that moment. So I get myself together and I keep pushing. As long as I knew I got it out for that moment without being judged, I'm cool.
And so you said something really dope right there, is that without being judged. And I think that I talked about on a couple episodes back. So you guys go check that episode out where I talked about grief and grieving versus mourning, and how mourning is the outward expression, and how a lot of us don't understand the importance of that or the difference between the two. So you crying and giving yourself the opportunity to let it out, there is power in your tears, and a lot of us, myself included, actually today, I felt myself about to cry and I'm like, nah, like, no, okay. And I just like let it come out a little bit, because it's like you have to do that. It's not going to go away. I mean, for that moment, maybe, but it'll come back. So I'm definitely proud that you were able to, one, recognize what you had to do, leaned in and did it. And for all you people who see people in their car driving, crying, don't, no shade. Don't be judging people. Like, what's wrong with that person? Like, they might be grieving. So be like, are you grieving? I grieve too. Like do something like that, don't, because I have saw people actually driving, crying before, and I've wanted to like catch up to them and like find out what's wrong. And I'm like, wait, first of all, it's a total stranger and you're on the road. Like, turn the empathy button off and just pray that they'll be okay. Yeah. But I never thought to, actually judge them. But so thanks again for so much of sharing so much of what you already shared thus far. Couple questions for you. I mean, it's been a journey, right? So it's been some time, you lost, did we say Keith? we said
Yeah.
Keith, but not to be confusing to our audience, both of their names are Keith.
Yeah.
So it's Keith Sr. and there's a Keith
Junior.
Jr. So there's Casey and then there's Keith.
Yeah.
So just to communicate that, but you've lost, unfortunately, Casey and Keith over the last couple of years. What do you think was your lowest point? And it could be in your grief journey or just like maybe what those situations might have had you go through or anything you would feel comfortable sharing as far as your lowest point in your journey of these losses.
My lowest point is when I tried to commit suicide because of it.
Okay. So we gonna
it-
go there.
Yeah,
okay.
it was low. It was low. Yeah. Definitely that low.
Okay. So I wasn't thinking you was gonna say that.
Yeah.
So you threw
I'm
me.
gonna be honest.
So you threw me off again. Thought I was prepared for this interview and just kind of knew what we were going to talk about, kind of,
Yeah.
and where we were going. And you just keep going there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. So we're going there. So, wow. Okay. So there was a point in your journey where you've thought about suicide or did you?
No, I acted.
Okay. So you actually attempted suicide.
Yes.
Okay. And do you, care to like elaborate a little bit more or you can just leave it at that? I mean, honestly, like, first of all, that is.
Grief led it there.
Okay.
Grief led it there. Amongst, other things, but definitely my grief led it there.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I mean about grief will meet you where you are. Like it can add on those layers. And so I'm thankful to God that you are still here. And I tell you that and I've told you that. And that was difficult for me to process, when that happened and just like, wow, like, in a moment's time, someone that you care and love could not be here, for that. And I know that now you said you're in counseling and therapy. Have you like felt like that anytime after or, from that attempt, like, have you learned that or embraced that maybe that's not the best solution or option?
Definitely not the best solution or option.
Right.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I actually had stopped therapy for a little bit. The counselor that I had ended up retiring.
Okay.
And me and him rocked it out. So for me to want to look for somebody else, I didn't do it.
Right.
I kind of used what he gave me to move along. I want to say in the last few months, though, I've been talking to my wife like, hey, I think I need another therapist. So she's actually been on a hunt for me. Because I not feeling like I'm going down that road again, but I know I need someone to talk to for an outlet.
Right. And I keep saying I'm proud of you, but I am because first of all, and again, and this is one of the main reasons why I actually created this podcast and this platform is because especially people of color, I feel like a lot of times we don't express things and it's not just that we don't want to. I think we don't necessarily know how. Our parents didn't teach us to do that and no shade to the parents, but I'm keeping it 100. I've really never had someone sit me down and say, hey, you should go to therapy and counseling. It's okay for you to express your emotions. But I have heard people say, oh, we're going to pray and we're going to, we're going to go to church and we're going to give it to God. And truthfully, I agree with those things, but I just feel like we didn't have that guide to really do that or that example, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's kind of foreign, so for you to have one, being able to express your emotions, two, after a suicide attempt, being able to continue your life and, thrive and get past that obstacle is definitely huge. So I know I keep saying I'm proud, but I just don't take it lightly. Yeah. Even though I know my guests, to all of our audience out there, it doesn't mean that their story is not as important to me or that I'm not learning. Because even, having people sit across from me that I know is still empowering, and enlightening. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I know it's extremely difficult. And for those of you out there that may have, thought about suicide and or attempted, we'll make sure we drop some resources for you in the show notes. Shall that arise ever again, we can point you in the right direction for some help and some outlets. There are some hotlines and so forth that can help you because we don't take that lightly. So we're definitely glad that you're still here with us. So I can't let you go without asking a high point after we talked about a low point.
My high point. Ooh.
Ain't that crazy? Ain't that ain't that? That's some great English, but ain't that about we have to pause
for a high point.
Well, for a high point, but that's real.
Yeah, I think my high point was just getting out of my slump. I think that's what it was, knowing that I have 2 kids to live for. I have my wife with me. Like, I got to rock out for them. I'm their backbone. So I think that's my high point, knowing that I still have people to live for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that I always say we have to have something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I didn't have anything greater than myself, I'm pretty sure I would have just said, well, whatever, like, because, like me just for myself. Now is a little different. I do a lot of living for myself. But there have been moments where I'm like, I can't do this, like I can't do this to Tanya. Like I can't, it's certain things that it's just like, you're like, all right, I have to push through for someone other than myself. Like, if you can do that. So that is a great, and you have beautiful children. So I'm glad you want to live for them, and beautiful wife. God shot you out, too. So I like this question. I posed this question to my last guest and I was intrigued by the answer. So I want to ask you, if you had to choose a color for your grief, take your time. What would it be? And it can't be black.
Yeah, I know. I was listening. And I said, if this question come up, what would I use? I think I did beige.
Okay, that's an interesting color. You guys, what are you doing? What about the regular ones that's in the coloring box? Like purple, red, blue. They're like, it would be shades of like aqua. Yeah, like beige. Okay, so it would be beige.
For me, it was just flat. It laid everything out for me. It let me see what life was like without these people that I counted on so much.
I got some deep people in my life. That was deep. I really rock with that. Like, that was dope. So we got beige, laid it out. Yeah. I think grief will do that. It will put a lot into perspective for you and just put it in front of you and say, all right, well, now what? Like,
deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it. What are you going to do, guys? So I want to jump into our In Love and Memory segment. It's a part of our show, if you are not familiar, where we take time and set aside to humanize and show tons of love and respect for our loved ones, those that have gone on. It's very important to keep them alive, to one capacity or another. So this week, our In Love and Memory segment goes to K.C. Cannon and Keith Cannon. We want to send love, our condolences to yourself and your family. It's something that, we want them to know that they are gone, but absolutely never forgotten. And continue to fly high, guys. And until we see you guys again, gone, but absolutely never forgotten. Right. So I definitely want to shout out them for our In Love and Memory segment. Guys, if you have someone you want to have shouted out, please send us an email at thegriefbully@gmail.com, subject line In Love and Memory segment, and we will be certain to shout them out. I cannot promise you which episode. That means you have to tune in every week to find out if your loved ones were shouted out, and we will continue to move forward there. So thank you guys for that, and I will go to our Inspirational Boost. So our Inspirational Boost segment is brought to us by our friends over at Adina J Designs. They make, create, and inspire us with their decorated apparel, custom tumblers, wood signs, everything you could think of. They can pretty much do it and customize it for you. I would encourage you to follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Adina J Designs, ADENAJAYDESIGNS. I have messed that up more times than I like to admit. And I've also forgotten to say the Inspirational Boost, like what almost happened just now. So the Inspirational Boost is a part of our show where we like to give you a positive or thought-provoking quote for the week. It is Monday, so we like to set your mind in the right place. So this week, our quote is, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." George Bernard Shaw. So I like that quote. What do you think about it?
It's pretty dope.
Pretty dope?
Pretty dope.
Okay, so those people over at Adina J Designs are sponsoring a pretty dope segment here with this quote. Guys, the quote will be in the show notes for you to review. So before we get out of here, I just want to ask you, maybe if you had to leave the audience with two things, it could be about grief or life, or it could be one thing, whatever you feel comfortable with. Just drop some love. You've killed it. You've done amazing. You've helped so many people, I'm sure, with this episode. So we would love for you to just end it with one or two things that you would leave them with.
Stop trying to be a statistic.
Okay. Care to elaborate?
Use therapy. It definitely works. Stay out of that box of the Black community of, don't put your feelings out there. Oh, don't talk to strangers, blah, blah, blah. Because that stranger can definitely pull you out of the lowest place that you are. And they're not there to judge you. Not one bit.
Fire. So that was that one or two? Because that was kind of like a combo.
Was it? All right.
You want another one?
No, that's good.
Listen, guys, man, we are at episode 8. I'm excited about this. It's Monday, October 7th. We've had an amazing guest in here with us today, a longtime friend, someone I care about, someone that I love dearly. Keita, you have been an amazing guest. We thank you for sharing your love and light with the Grief Bully audience today. Guys, I am your host, J.Nicole. Please do me a favor and follow me on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most. You can follow me at I_am_J.Nicole. I have a lot of haters in here that are snickering and laughing as I trail off. But again, I'm your host, J.Nicole. As always, you already know. Love and light. Peace. Love and light. You're nuts.
Oh, man.